Loyola University basketball coach Sheryl Swoopes. She's under investigation, accused of mistreating players. One of them is speaking out this morning, telling us why she wanted to transfer. ABC's Lindsay Davis is here with the details. Good morning, Lindsay.
Good morning, Lara. Sheryl Swoopes was the first woman to ever sign with the WNBA. But this morning, the college coach is not only under fire, but under investigation after reports that the majority of her roster has decided to leave.
Gerald WNBA legend and three-time MVP Sheryl Swoopes, a Hall of Famer, has just been removed from all 2025 WNBA broadcasts. The decision comes after a year marked by persistent and unfounded criticism of Caitlin Clark. The league has finally decided to take action.
That's not my point. There's a lot of other shit going on that players are like, this ain't where I want to be.
Over there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some new shit going on around there.
It's a lot. So you have players that are very significant on this Indiana Fever team that are like, I don't
want to be here.
This is where I want to be.
Yeah. Now listen,
What you said, there's a lot of shit going on. What kind of things you said?
I'm not in the locker room.
Okay. But just,
I'm talking about.
Once hailed as a trailblazer, Swoopes is now facing the fallout from a toxic narrative of her own making, spreading misinformation, downplaying Caitlin Clark's historic achievements, and pushing fans away. The real question isn't whether she deserved this outcome, but why it took so long to happen. This isn't just about a broadcaster losing her job, it's about accountability. The WNBA has entered a new era, one that champions talent and growth rather than tearing players down. Instead of uplifting the game, Swoopes chose to lean into petty jealousy over progress. The league just sent a crystal clear message. Come for its rising stars, and you're out. But how did it escalate to this point? And what does it mean for the future of WNBA coverage? Buckle up, because we're diving deep into the drama. Want the full breakdown? Smash that like button, share this with every basketball fan you know, and subscribe for the hottest WNBA takes you won't find anywhere else.
First WNBA game, was it everything you expected it to be? I know it wasn't the outcome you wanted, but tell us how did you feel about your first performance?
Yeah, I thought we played really hard. Just a great atmosphere for women's basketball. I think it's a good kickoff to the WNBA season. I think the way we played, there's some things we could have executed a little better. I thought we could have got into our offense a little bit better. The pace was amazing. That's fun basketball people like to watch, but overall, definitely what I expected.
Yeah, so what do you take away from...
Sheryl Swoopes didn't just criticize Caitlin Clark. She created false narratives. Remember when she claimed Clark was in her 5th year of college? Completely false. Clark was a senior. Then came the wild exaggeration that Clark takes 40 shots a game. In reality, she averaged just 22.7.
Your first WNBA game, was it everything you expected it to be? I know it wasn't the outcome you wanted, but tell us how did you feel about your first performance?
Yeah, I thought we played really hard. Just a great atmosphere for women's basketball. I think it's...
These weren't honest mistakes. They were calculated attempts to undermine Clark's accomplishments. And fans weren't fooled. Instead of backing down, Swoopes doubled down. When Clark shattered the NCAA scoring record, Swoopes scoffed, "Is it truly a broken record? I don't think so." Her reasoning? Clark had an extra COVID year. But since when do records come with asterisks? That wasn't analysis, it was spite. And the WNBA, tired of the toxic energy, finally pulled the plug. But here's the kicker. Swoopes had every chance to pivot. She could have celebrated Clark's rise, a moment that's helping grow the very league she once ruled. Instead, she chose bitterness. Now, her broadcasting career is over, and the basketball world is moving on without her.
Got to go to the players of the week. Both of them had outstanding weeks, and they're the next two opponents for the weeks. Caitlin Clark will be here on Sunday for the week. Of course, the Lynx here Friday at 6:30 on ION. And then the Fever come here at 3 o'clock before a sellout crowd.
The WNBA doesn't part ways with legends lightly, but Swoopes left them no choice. Her disastrous appearance on Gil's Arena, where she tore into Clark's pro potential, lit a firestorm. The backlash was immediate. Fans erupted, analysts called her out, and even Stephen A. Smith slammed her on live TV. You know basketball better than this. Stop the hate. At that point, the league couldn't ignore it any longer.
I am going to give Caitlin Clark her flowers. Yes, I said that.
Oh my God.
No. But, and I'm not going to put it together. I'm going to give Caitlin her flowers because I think what she has done coming into this league absolutely has brought more eyes, whether you like them or not, but has brought more eyes, more marketing. Like, people just want to watch the game and they want to talk about it. Even those that don't know anything about it, they talk about it. And I'm not going to give Caitlin her flowers without giving you your.
Then came the Dallas Wings incident. Swoopes was banned from calling Fever games after yet another on-air rant targeting Clark. Behind the scenes, things got even more serious. Sources say WNBA legend Nancy Lieberman confronted her directly, warning, "Keep it about basketball." But Swoopes didn't listen. And when Lieberman stepped in to replace her on broadcasts, the message couldn't have been clearer. Sheryl's time was up.
Cooper to Swoopes, cutting free throw line, jumper is good. Weaving through traffic, through three, my goodness! And that's no exaggeration when we say they're the WNBA's hottest team. In fact, they have a player tonight, the double in WNBA history, man. First ever. Rosati's waiting for it, gets to Swoopes, down low, Valdemoro, puts up a hook shot and scores!
The WNBA is all in on Caitlin Clark's stardom, and they're not about to let old grudges jeopardize their future. Swoopes' firing wasn't just punishment. It was protection. Protection for the league, for the players, and most importantly, for the growth of the game.
Box office. Clark and the Fever currently lead the WNBA in average game attendance and per game TV viewership. But despite the attendance and viewership records, there seems to be some haterade in the league in regards to Clark starting with WNBA legend Sheryl Swoopes herself. She recently spoke on her podcast, Queens of the Court, and didn't mention the rookie when speaking of Indiana's rise in the standings. Here's what Sheryl Swoopes had to say. Look at this quote here.
Swoopes' downfall wasn't sudden. It was years in the making. Remember her disastrous coaching stint at Loyola? 10 out of 12 players quit under her leadership. Former players accused her of belittling them, threatening scholarships, and creating a toxic environment. One even said it wasn't basketball, it was survival. And yet, somehow, she kept getting chances.
I don't think I'm surprised. I'm curious to know who the other candidates were, but the fact that that's the very first WNBA player to ever win Time Magazine Athlete of the Year is pretty special. And my question is, like the criteria, is it based off of her performance on the court, which, yeah, she had a great year, or is it more about the impact that she had on?
Even in broadcasting, drama seemed to follow Swoopes. From awkward feuds with colleagues to tone-deaf takes, she burned bridges at every turn. And when Caitlin Clark, a generational talent, emerged, Swoopes couldn't handle it. Instead of mentoring, she mocked. Instead of elevating, she tore down.
Picked up by Barnes. She drives right around her. Right baseline. Spinner in the lane. In and out and back in again. Swoopes. Not Sheryl Swoopes. Swoopes the board. Oh my goodness. Swoopes, long cross-court pass Cooper. In from the left. Scoops and scores.
Now, the reckoning is here. The WNBA doesn't need Swoopes' negativity. Not when Caitlin Clark is selling out arenas, breaking records, and drawing millions of new fans to the game. Swoopes picked the wrong fight, and she lost everything. The WNBA didn't act in a vacuum. Fans demanded this. Every time Swoopes took a cheap shot at Clark, social media exploded. Twitter threads broke down her biased commentary. TikTok clips exposing her hypocrisy went viral. And even casual viewers were asking, why does she hate Caitlin so much? The league couldn't ignore the tsunami of outrage.
Today, I have two. I am going to give Caitlin Clark her flowers. Yes, I said that.
Oh my God.
No. But.
And this wasn't just Clark's fans pushing back. Even Swoopes' loyalists were falling silent. Neutral fans were simply exhausted. Why tune into broadcasts laced with bitterness when the game itself is thriving? Fever Game ratings soared, while Swoopes' segments became meme fodder. The WNBA faced a clear choice: side with progress or cling to outdated grudges. They chose wisely.
It was actually nothing cute about my response. I was just pure screaming at the top of my lungs.
And let's be real, money talks. Sponsors took notice of the backlash. Networks grew uneasy. When your lead analyst becomes a bigger source of drama than the actual games, something's got to give. Swoopes didn't just lose her job. She lost the court of public opinion long before the league officially cut ties.
Cooper to Swoopes, cutting free throw line, jumper is good. Weaving through traffic, through for the bucket! Oh my goodness! And that's no exaggeration when we say they're the WNBA's hottest team. In fact, they have a player tonight in Sheryl Swoopes bidding for the first ever.
Here's the irony. Swoopes was once exactly what she now resents. When she entered the league in 1997, veterans doubted her. Critics said she'd never measure up to the established stars. Sound familiar? But the WNBA stood by her, protected her shine, just like they're doing for Caitlin Clark today. What makes it worse? Swoopes owes her entire career to the very growth she's now trying to stifle. Her iconic Nike deal, the first ever signature shoe for a woman, only happened because the WNBA took bold risks on rising talent. And now, she's gatekeeping the same opportunities that once made her a star. The lack of self-awareness is staggering. Even players are calling it out. Dejanai Carrington, not a Clark apologist by any stretch, put it bluntly. When the game evolves, you either evolve with it or get left behind. Swoopes chose the latter, and history won't remember her kindly for it.
Everybody to hear me say right now, it's about
Yeah.
You can believe that if you want. But it is. And here we are, almost 30 years later, to have another Black woman to have her own signature shoe. I'm not looking at you right now, because you're really proud. That's big. And it's not just for all the Black girls out there, it's for every little girl out there that dares to dream.
Let's ask the uncomfortable question. If this were a male analyst, say Charles Barkley, constantly trashing a rookie phenom like Victor Wembanyama, would the NBA have fired him? Probably not. In fact, the league often tolerates, even encourages, hot takes from its most controversial voices. But the WNBA faces a different reality, different pressures. A league still growing, still fighting for respect, can't afford to let internal voices tear down its rising stars.
Being said, you big dummies, you getting paid now.
Right.
Everybody now has an opportunity to pull up their chair and have a seat.
For the past year,
We've watched Sheryl Swoopes target Caitlin Clark with bizarre claims that she's a 25-year-old playing against teenagers, that her rookie season isn't impressive, that nobody wants to play with her. The attacks seemed endless.
Women's sports are constantly fighting for legitimacy, so internal division isn't just messy, it's a luxury they can't afford. When Swoopes went after Clark, she wasn't just criticizing a player, she was undermining the league's momentum. That's why the WNBA acted decisively, where the NBA might have simply shrugged. This double standard cuts both ways. Female analysts aren't given the same leeway as their male counterparts, but they also carry a heavier responsibility, helping grow the game. Swoopes crossed a line the league simply couldn't ignore.
To be a dog. She is a dog. Here's what I'll say about Angel. I love the fact that she's just her, right? And she says she's unapologetically Angel. She plays hard, both ends of the floor. It doesn't matter what the score is. The thing that I think people question wasn't so much about her game or her rebounding, but it was the scoring. And the fact that she is either averaging or almost averaging a double-double is pretty impressive to do from anybody, but in particular a rookie. I just love how
And this wasn't Swoopes' first controversial feud. Back in 2013, she publicly dismissed Brittany Griner, claiming Griner wouldn't dominate the WNBA like she did in college. A take that aged horribly. Then came her dismissive remarks about Sabrina Ionescu's record-breaking three-point performance. Time and again, Swoopes chose criticism over celebration.
Move on. Who would be your starters for this Team WNBA if you had to pick?
Ooh.
I don't know, huh?
WNBA. All right, you put me on the spot. I'm gonna go. I'm going DeWanna Bonner.
Okay.
Let me keep going.
A clear pattern emerges. Swoopes has consistently struggled to embrace new eras. Whether it's generational centers, shooting phenoms, or marketable superstars, her instinct has been to diminish rather than uplift. The situation with Clark wasn't an isolated incident. It was simply the breaking point in a years-long trend.
The biggest moves, maybe even the best moves, that would be the Indiana Fever. I think the Indiana Fever went from just being in the playoffs last season to potentially winning a championship.
Wait, hold up. Are we in Twilight Zone or something? Or is there a bug?
The saddest part? Swoopes could have been the wise mentor, someone who guided the next generation with grace. Instead, she became a cautionary tale of how legends can tarnish their own legacies.
Line jumper is good. Long back of the iron, Swoopes another board. That's Sheryl's 10th. Right, scoops and score. Cooper right wing launches a three, short. Swoopes the follow shot up and in.
While Swoopes battles the fallout of her firing, the new guard is rising and taking control of the narrative. Aja Wilson's viral podcast, Brianna Stewart's unfiltered social commentary, even Caitlin Clark's masterful media presence. They're all proving one thing. Today's WNBA stars don't need traditional analysts to tell their stories. They're writing their own. This power shift is bigger than Swoopes. Today's players have direct access to fans. No filters, no middlemen. Through podcasts like Tea with Ajay, behind-the-scenes documentaries, and authentic social media engagement, they're telling their own stories on their own terms.